This is episode 64 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. The good news is that the World Cup qualification is just about done and dusted. Some playoff games in the future. But for now, domestic football all the way through to the month of March. So that means a lot of bets to be made, and a lot of coverage right here on Pinnacle. How you doing, Jake? We should say congratulations on baby number 2 coming this international break. Well done, and congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you. Yeah, she waited until the international break to pop out, which was nice. They got all the domestic football out of the way. Nice little lull in the calendar. Yeah, no, it's good. She's doing well. Hopefully she brings a bit of good luck this weekend because it's fair to say our domestic tipping has not been as good as our European tipping.
Yes,
in terms of Champions League, but I think if you combine them all together, I think we're just about ahead, which is a positive. I'm taking that as a positive as we head into the big meaty part of this season. But yeah, there's quite a lot I like this week, so hopefully we can get back on the green.
Well, we'll go from XB, expected baby, to XG this week. As always, We look at Europe's biggest games and biggest domestic leagues, and we give you our predictions and prognostications and our feel for all of these games. All the markets that we use are courtesy of Pinnacle, BetSmart, Bet Pinnacle. Some big games coming out of the international break. We should also let you know that European football, the Champions League, does return next week. So early next week, we will have a Champions League podcast where we have absolutely been a wagon. Let's start off where we do each and every podcast in the Premier League this weekend. Some decent enough games this weekend and some lines that I can really get behind. The North London Derby, I guess, is a centerpiece of the weekend. I'm not sure if you want to start there, Jake, or if you want to start somewhere else.
No, it's a good place to start for sure because it's a really interesting battle. You've got Arsenal, obviously, were a proverbial wagon before the break, before Sunderland managed to hit them for 2. They've not conceded in about eight games. They're hosting Tottenham, and it's a Tottenham team that have been miserable at home, but really, really strong away from home in terms of results. And I think that just plays down to the kind of style Thomas Frank wants to operate, like playing on the counter attack, being a little bit deeper, springing through transitions with pace. Your fans are more happy to see that away from home than at home because it can get a little bit dull when you're doing that against Wolves and Burnley, as well as obviously the better teams. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting in terms of that. The problem Spurs have is that even though they've got good results away from home, the process hasn't reflected that. So I would expect those results to kind of hit the buffers and grind to a halt, really, because ultimately they're a bottom half team, Tottenham, masquerading as a top 5 team. The data that they're posting is nowhere near good enough. And I think we can give them some caveats because they're missing a lot of key players, especially in forward areas. Maddison obviously is quite an important creator, so is Kulusevski, but still, there's enough quality there to be putting up better underlying numbers that would mean that sustainably over the long run there'll be a better team. I don't give them much hope here, I'll be honest. As I just said, they're going to play on the counter-attack. They're going to really try and hit Arsenal in transition, but Arsenal are one of the best teams at defending transition because they play with so much control. So I don't see how Spurs are going to cause them many issues whatsoever. Defensively, as we keep banging on, they're just fantastic, Arsenal. They've conceded barely any goals, barely any chances. It's 5 goals so far this season. At home, they've conceded just once in 5 games, which came against Manchester City, and allowed just 0.56 expected goals against. I find it difficult to see Spurs breaching them, I'll be honest, especially with their attacking struggles. They're generating just 1.1 expected goals for per game this season, which is borderline atrocious when you spend so much money in forward areas. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm going back to the well. If anything, I think Arsenal went in at plus 131 is a bet. I think it should be around plus 110 because in my mind, yes, it is a derby and you have to put that into perspective. But Arsenal are the best team in the league and Spurs are mid-table at best. And if you had, an average mid-table team struggling to create chances going to the Emirates, you'd be looking at Arsenal winning around even money, maybe plus 110, plus 120. So I think there's a bit of juice in that price.
Yeah, it's a very difficult where we sit right now on Wednesday, just about midday here where I am, Wednesday afternoon where you are, to understand which Arsenal attacking players are coming back. Injuries in attacking areas from Gyökeres to Madueke to Martinelli. It's been a real issue. And right now that their availability is unclear. What I do know is Gabriel's out, and he might be the most important central defender in the Arsenal team. So if he's out, that
they've got Mosquera,
Saliba,
he's looked pretty good.
I get that they're deep, but I think that Gabriel is he's the kind of centerpiece of that group. And if you take him out, I'm just he's being ever present in the Arsenal side as well. And I just look at Spurs. They, by the way, are getting a lot of players back as well. It is worth mentioning that the North London derby's been a little bit of a different breed, and Spurs has been competitive. In their last 4 games, each one of those games has been settled by a goal or less. And Spurs last year were dreadful, and Arsenal were a really good team. And so if I was to take an edge, and there's no official play here, it'd be Spurs on the handicap at a goal and a quarter at plus 104. I think they can keep it close enough. And it all just depends on the availability of these Arsenal players. And I think coming out of the international break might suit Spurs a little bit. And like you said, 4-0-1 away from home. Like, their process has been much better away from home, Spurs, than Arsenal. I think it could be a low-scoring game as well. There might not be much in it, Jake, and I think that they can probably keep it close enough. But no official play for me, but I would kind of oppose you on that.
I mean, I'd love to make it a head-to-head because
Spurs... I'm not that confident.
Spurs have been absolutely miserable the last couple of games against Chelsea and Man United. So, I'm quite happy to just keep opposing them because even if you look at their away run, the schedule-wise, it's not been like overly daunting. I mean, they had West Ham got reduced to 10, and then they scored 3 set-piece goals. Away to Brighton, they did well to rally from 2-0 down. Leeds, that was a smash and grab, and away at Everton, it was set-piece goals that put them in front and then allowed them to counter. So, the only kind of good result, I guess, is Man City away, but that was right at the start of the season when City was still finding their feet. I'm just going to keep opposing Spurs at every opportunity because I'm just not a big believer in them. I've not seen enough to get them on. Whereas Arsenal, I know exactly what I'm getting.
Yep. Again, the context. Right now, I need to see. I need to see what the injury. Maybe I'll hit you up on the WhatsApp closer to kickoff when there's a little bit more of an understanding of who may be playing and who may not be. All right. Where else are you looking this weekend across the Premier League?
Yeah, one of my favourite bets of the week is Chelsea to win to 0 at Burnley at plus 161. Again, I'm not really reinventing the wheel. We had it when Arsenal went there. Arsenal were obviously a much shorter price. They ran even money to do so. And you're getting a massive price here on Chelsea. But I do think it's quite interesting that since Chelsea, I know it's a small sample, but since Chelsea lost to Sunderland, they've actually kept clean sheets in back-to-back league games and conceded literally nothing, which I think is really, really impressive and perhaps important. I mean, they went to Spurs, absolutely dominated Spurs, and then obviously Wolves were, absolute shambles of a club at the moment and a team, but they conceded a combined 0.26 expected goals in those 2 matches, which is really, really impressive. And I know in between that they drew away in Karabag. There's a lot of changes made in that game, so I'm kind of parking that for my argument here, but defensively they're looking much more solid. I'm not quite on the I can trust them 100% and they're in a title race kind of bandwagon yet, but I think that they've got more than enough to go to Burnley and swap Burnley aside because Burnley have been really, really bad. I was hesitant to back West Ham before the break just because Burnley's schedule had been difficult. Obviously, West Ham had only had that 1 win, and then West Ham absolutely dominated them. I know it was a 3-2, but the scoreline flattered Burnley. And then you look at the data, they just look like the worst team in the league, Burnley. Created the second fewest expected goals, conceded the most expected goals against, played 2 of the top 4 from last season already at home, Liverpool and Arsenal. Lost 1-0, 2-0, generated just 0.85 XG across 2 matches. Took just 6 shots across those 2 games as well, which I think is quite interesting and suggests that they might not even do much at all against Chelsea, especially if they're in the same mood as what they were when they played Wolves. So I thought plus 161 was a big leap from the Chelsea win price, and one that's going to be making my board this week.
Okay, I considered that, but I'm just going to swerve away. But all the rationale is the exact line of thinking that I was processing as well. What else? Let's continue this train. Let's go.
Yeah, like I said, I quite like the board this week. So I'm not sure
I
how
do
many's going to
too.
make my top five, but like I really like the look of Leeds on the handicap against Villa. You can get them plus a goal at plus 118. So sorry, plus draw no bet plus zero, plus 118. And I'm more than happy to row in on that because I'm still not buying into Villa. I know the results have been good, but performances continue to just underwhelm. Third bottom on expected points, only Wolves and Burnley are below them, and only those two have created fewer expected goals than Aston Villa, who've generated just 0.95 per game, which is really, really poor. Away from home, 1, 2 and 2 averaged 0.6 expected goals per game. So when they travel, they basically don't do much when it comes to creating chances. And then they go into a Leeds team who they've been absolutely atrocious away from home, 5 defeats in 6, but have been strong at home. Process has been very, very good. So they've generated 1.76 expected goals for and 0.65 against. Only Manchester City and Arsenal have collected more expected points at home than Leeds have. I'm not saying that Leeds are up there in that kind of category, but I think that this is what we're getting here is a little bit of recency bias. Leeds have had a couple of bad away results. Villa have had a couple of good results at home. And I think that's swayed too much into the price. And Leeds are a big price just to get the win here, plus 208. But like I said, draw no bet, bit of extra security at plus 118. More than happy to take that.
I mean, 2.25 for the goal line. It's just, especially Leeds at home, they create a lot more chances. Like away from home, they're anemic in terms of their attack. And I understand that Villa typically struggled over the season from an attacking perspective as well. They put 4 past a good Bournemouth side. I know it was at home last time out, but I just still think that there's far too much attacking talent and the opportunity to go and there to be some goals in this game, especially played at Ellen Road. It's just too good of an opportunity to pass up on. Over 2.25 at minus 108. I think that's a good enough bet to make. So I'm just looking at the total in that one. At the floor, I'll give it back to you, Jake.
Yeah, I was wrestling with a couple. Sunderland on the handicap at Fulham, plus a quarter of a goal. You can make a very strong case for Sunderland. Obviously, just a very solid team, aren't they? 2 defeats this season. Have come away from home at Burnley and Man United. The process away from home is okay. It's not that kind of what hit the buffers on my idea of getting them on side here. It's 1.5 expected goals against 1.1 expected goals for, which is not what I was expecting. And then you factor in that's been a pretty big game for Fulham. And all 3 of their wins have come at home so far this season against teams Leeds, Brentford, Wolves. Sunderland, probably better than that trio, but is that being factored into the price at plus 115? So I'll let that slide. The same with Man City at Newcastle. I initially wanted to get City on side at plus 101. They're looking like legitimate title contenders. Thrashed Liverpool last time out. Newcastle, the issue we have with them is that their home process is just completely different ballpark to away process. So the last few results they've had have been poor. Away from home, at home, different kettle of fish. And then Liverpool went there plus 130. Liverpool were to win at Newcastle. Arsenal went there a few weeks later plus 120 to win at Newcastle. Now you're getting City at plus 100. I think that's a bit too short. So I'm gonna leave that one alone as well. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. That's kind of the second biggest game of the week, isn't it?
Just on the Fulham Sunderland again, and another total that's just 2.25. You can get that at minus 103, or if you just want to back both teams to score at minus 102. Both teams, in terms of their XG and expected goals against, like they're kind of mid-table, especially considering their home and away form. Sunderland's combative. Fulham's back healthy. I know that Muniz is out long term, but like everyone else is available. And I just think like you look at the recent goal totals and chance creation by Fulham and Sunderland. It's been decent over the last month as well. So we scored twice against Arsenal. I know it was at home, but still they had an XG well over 1 in that game. So I look at that total at being far too low. I like the over in that game. As for Newcastle City, no Dan Burn. I mean, he's just a really important player for Newcastle. He's suspended this weekend.
Might be good news, that.
You think so? I think he's.
He's been playing left back. He's not good enough to play left back in the Prem.
I get it, but I think he's fit for purpose in that Newcastle team, especially that the way they want to play. You might not rate him. I just think that he's become a very important piece for that team. City, away from home, they have the second best expected point total in the Premier League away from home. And it's just they seem like they're just on really good form. Both teams have Champions League football upcoming. I don't know, like if I was to make a bet, I would back City. There's no chance. We documented it in recent weeks. There's just something that doesn't look right about this Newcastle team, especially in the attacking third. So I think it could be rather comfortable for City for that perspective. And I think that they can punch back. So the Erling Haaland's form right now is absolutely incredible just for club and for country. So there's no chance I can make a pro Newcastle play here. So it would be City or nothing. That would be my angle. I much prefer the total in the Fulham Sunderland game, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I have two more. Liverpool Forest. I think we have to take Forest on the handicap at plus 1.25, minus 102, so you're close to even money. So that's obviously half a bet on plus one, which would see us get our money back if they lose by a goal. And obviously make money if they draw or win, and half a bet on plus 1.5, which sees us get half a win if they lose by one goal. I think we just have to trust Forest now under Sean Dyche, because they've gone through a solid period now of 6 games, 4 in the league, 2 in the Europa League, and they just look very, very solid. Very hard to create chances against. I know a couple of teams have scored a couple of goals against them, United and Bournemouth, but expected goals wise, they've been excellent. In the league, it's just 0.66 expected goals against per game. Only Chelsea have conceded fewer XG since Dyche took over. And if you expand that over the 2 Europa games as well, where they played Sturm Graz and Porto, it's just 0.54 expected goals against. So Dyche has got them very, very well drilled, very, very difficult to beat. And it's the kind of team you can see Liverpool struggling against. Tight, compact, but with pace on the counter-attack. Especially with the way in which Liverpool's defence has looked very, very shaky. Liverpool, they continue to be a bit of an enigma to me, to be honest, because I think before the City game, I said that I thought they might be a bet at the price because they put a couple of good results together, looked like their old selves, and then go lay an egg. Their data has just been horrific. So, well, for their standards anyway, 6th best in the league for expected goals for, 5th worst for expected goals against, 9th in expected points. And until I see a longer stretch of good football from Arne Slot's team, I think we keep opposing them. And I'm surprised we're getting a goal and a quarter, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's just one of those teams I've had a real trouble with this year. Liverpool domestically, what to expect, because they're good enough to go out and beat a team like Forest 2 or 3-0, no problem in a game like that, but the data doesn't support it, so I just need to swerve. But I understand your rationale. Is that it for you? Because we haven't addressed a couple of the games that I like the most. Bournemouth West Ham. It's going to be one of my plays. West Ham under the team total of 0.5. So West Ham to fail to score at plus 164. Bournemouth is excellent at home, 4-1-0, 8 goals scored. They just conceded twice, and their expected goals against is the lowest in the Premier League at just 2.3. So they're staying true to form. And you're talking about a West Ham team here who Paquetá, who's suspended, who I know they've scored in recent games at home, but I still wouldn't trust him in the context of going to Bournemouth and coming up with a result. I just don't think they have enough horses to stick with the very good Bournemouth side. I think the combative nature of that team suits them, especially when they're playing at home. So under the team total, I think that's a really good number at plus 164, ticking under for West Ham. And Wolves now under Rob Edwards. I have a hard time seeing the way forward for Wolves. I understand that there's those ties between Edwards and Wolves in the past. I believe he was their under 23 manager as well. They're taking on Crystal Palace, who home or away, I just think that they're a very good team. Mark Gay looks like he's going to return as well this week. They're the fourth best expected point total away from home. And at minus 102, it's one of those where the markets are begging you to take them. And they're hoping that the new manager bounce happens. I don't really believe in that stuff. So I'll back Crystal Palace at just about even money at minus 102. Really quickly, Brighton, Brentford, teams that are almost mirror images of one another, but you're getting way more value backing Brentford. And Brentford is being one of the top sides. The fifth best expected point total, by the way, in the Premier League this season. They didn't start off the season great under a new manager, but they've been very good ever since. And if you look at the data and their metrics, they're every bit of a team, perhaps even more than what Brighton is. And you can get them on with a half goal start on the handicap. So if they win or draw, you win your bet at minus 106. I know Brentford's away from home, but it's not particularly far away. It's not a long distance travel. So, I like that as well. And finally, Manchester United and Everton, I wouldn't discourage anyone from backing over 2 3/4 of a goal at plus 102. United create a ton of chances, but they also still look vulnerable at times at the back as well. I think that Everton will really give them a good challenge in terms of how that defensive back line looks. And I think that United can create with the best of them the way that they look and stand right now. So over the total at 2 3/4, I would have had this total set lined up at just about 3. So the fact that you're getting a plus number at 2 3/4, I think that there's some decent enough value there as well. Any thoughts on any of those, or shall we move on to La Liga?
Yeah, I had a bet for the United game as well. I thought that United to win looked a pretty big price at minus 129. But for anyone who wants a bit of extra juice, just back United winning both teams to score instead at plus 271 for the exact reasons you just said. 4 straight home league wins for United, which is unheard of really since 2 seasons ago. But the process has been good as well, like 2.1 XG, less than 1 expected goals against. They beat Sunderland very impressively 2-0 a couple of weeks ago. Obviously then they went and beat Brighton impressively as well in a 4-2 game. Everton are frisky. They have the potential to be very awkward, but away from home really struggled. 1-1 and 3. They're conceding 1.6 XG, so I do expect United to get the win, but Everton have got enough firepower to cause problems.
Set pieces as well. I know that Lamans has done well. He's a better goal. Yeah. I look at Everton as being a team that can really trouble Manchester United from a set piece perspective.
Yeah, that's the awkward. When you've got players like Grealish and Iliman and Jai, they can win so many free kicks in dangerous areas too, as well as the corners, obviously. So, yeah, maybe look at centre-back scorer. I like that.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, let's move on to La Liga. What are you seeing in La Liga this week?
Yeah, I've got 3 that I really like. We'll start with the big hitters. Real Madrid, they travel to Elche, and I'm surprised we're getting Elche with a 1.5 goal head start here, because they have been brilliant this season. At home, they are unbeaten, 3-3-0, and their underlying process has been really good. 1.6 expected goals, 1.0 expected goals against. Granted, they yet to play any of the big 3, Real, Barca or Atletico, at home, but they've taken on Celta Vigo, Bilbao. Last time out, they played an improving Real Sociedad who've put a run together, avoided defeat. They went to Barca a couple of weeks ago, lost 3-1 away from home. But as I said, they're a much better home team. And Real Madrid, surprised, I think I mentioned it a few times on it, defensively, they are all over the place when they go away from home. 4 1-on-1 on the road, but they've conceded 1.7 expected goals against per game on their travels, which is really, really poor. They were held in the last away match at Rayo Vallecano, second best in that too, lost the XG battle, which is very unusual for Madrid. Were hammered by Atletico Madrid, beat Getafe and Sociedad by narrow margins, and all told, so far this season they've played 6 away matches and they've only covered the handicap, this 1.5 goal handicap, in 2 of them. So yeah, I like Elche to keep this close. Basically, it's minus 112. And I think Real Madrid have to win by 2 goals for this to lose. And I think this is a really, really good opportunity to back against them.
Okay. Should we go with the other big hitter? Because Barcelona's back at the Nou Camp, and they take on Athletic Club this week. And what we know about Barcelona is that they continue to concede. The good news for Athletic Club is Nico Williams is back in the team, and they ended up scoring 3 goals, I believe, last time out as well. and they're automatically much more of a threat. But we know Barcelona going back home. I expect them to win this game. So let's just follow that logic. A team that cannot keep clean sheets and regularly concede going home in a game where they'll most likely win. Both teams score, yes, Barcelona win at a good old number at plus 199. There are different. Inaki Williams is still out for Athletic Club, but with Nico back in the team, they've looked better in their last game out. So I think that for where the number stands is as good of a bet as you can find. By comparison on Pinnacle, just for Athletic Club to score, it's at minus 173. So those markets are suggesting to you that Athletic Club are likely to score in this game, and Barcelona is an overwhelming favorite. So combine those together, I think you're finding some value in backing that number.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you made the case for why Bilbao are going to score, not just for the fact that Barca just are shit at defending.
Yeah, that's it. I was trying to make the case.
Me and you at centre half.
Yes, basically. So, I think that's a big old number as well. Shall we talk Levante as well? Because this team just continues to score goals. They scored at Atletico Madrid last time out. They played Valencia on Friday. The line in that game is for the goal total is 2.5. Backing the over is something I wouldn't talk anyone off of. Minus 105. Levante second in La Liga in away expected goals. And 10 away goals scored is only behind the big two in Real Madrid and Barcelona on this season. So, and Valencia, a much better side at home, regularly scoring goals. They really struggle away. So I think that this is a game that sets up for a Friday goal fest. At least you're hoping from two teams that you would maybe think a little bit otherwise. Also, what do we call Osasuna? Asasuna, because they're so terrible. Real Sociedad over the last month have got their act together. You can back them on a draw no bet away at Asasuna at minus 104. I don't mind that as well. Villarreal takes on Mallorca. I'm just running through I like all these games. I
was just going to say, it's a shame Sociedad have turned a corner because we would have had Asasuna versus Real so bad. But,
yeah, so bad. Really so bad. But so bad as being so good. Over the last 4 or 5 games, they're undefeated. They're scoring goals as well. Good results both home and away. So minus 104, it's a good bet. Villarreal is an outstanding home side. I believe they've only conceded twice. Perfect remedy to continue to back that train, or perfect solution to back that train, is having Mallorca. Mallorca failed to score at plus 127. They're awful in terms of their attacking process. I say it every week. And Villarreal, a tough place to go. And let's look to the Monday fixture, Espanyol and Sevilla. Just back Espanyol to win this game at plus 117. Sevilla, the lowest away expected point total in La Liga. You have to back Espanyol in that game.
Yeah, I had the same bet down. The price has crumbled, though. Crumbled. It's plus 109 now. It's had a right move there. I had the same price down.
It was plus 117 as of last night. So.
I had plus 117. So yeah, for that game, I had 3 bets down. I had Espanyol to win at plus 117. Now it's plus 109. I still think that's value. I had the over as well, 2.25. Over 2.25 goals at minus 120. Which again, I think is a huge value. Sevilla, they as you mentioned, the data just doesn't stack up to the results. They've had 3 wins away from home, but the process has been atrocious, conceding over 2 expected goals against per game. Espanyol at home, very, very good. They're a very attack-minded team as well. They create chances, but they do leave themselves exposed. So I was also going to combine the two and have Espanyol to win and over 2.5 goals at plus 273. I imagine that number's probably shifted a bit now, given that Espanyol's win price has gone. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, plus 257. I still think that's good. Espanyol to win is the main bet because they are very, very good. 4-1 and 2. The 2 defeats at home have come against Betis and Villarreal, who are going to be 2 of the top 6 at the end of the season. So no qualms about that.
Right.
You went for Mallorca not to score. I went for Villarreal win to 0 for a bit of extra juice on the price, plus 159. 5-1-0 at home this season. 1-0, 4 out of 6. Mallorca 1-0-5 away from home, conceding a bucket loads of chances. 3 of the last 4 home games they've lost. With 2 of them coming to 0 and generated around 0.45 expected goals. So yeah, bad attacking team, very good defensive team. this is going to make my board basically. Plus 159, big
Yeah.
old price.
Me too. I might have to change to join you and get a little bit more juice. Villarreal is one of those teams when they're playing at home, especially against a poor side, they're money in the bank. They just are. It's just one of those teams. Away form though, I'm not entirely convinced, although they remain still a very competitive side. All right, to Serie A we go. We have Inter AC Milan this weekend. I have a real hard time reading AC Milan. Whenever I'm backing them or I'm trying to find some value in supporting them, they always let me down. And then the next week, I'll be tempted to go in and then they end up producing, but I don't end up pulling the trigger. It's a very difficult one for me. The data still sides with Inter, but they have a number of key players who are out as well. I believe Denzel Dumfries is still out. Mkhitaryan, I think Çalhanoğlu is out in the midfield as well. But there's something about AC Milan. There's a reason why I can't fully back them, but you're looking at it on the handicap, a half goal at plus 101. Is that tempting for you in this game? Because it's tempting for me.
It is, yeah, especially with sort of, and I know it's sort of cliche, but the home field advantage is not fully negated, but it pretty much is because the two sets of players are so familiar with the surroundings. But yeah, the data, there's not much between these two. Inter have been the better team so far on the underlying data, but is it enough for them to be minus 112? Neutral venue, they'd probably be minus 130. That's probably too short for me. I would probably say there's a bit of value in Milan, and then you throw in the derby factor and the kind of anything can happen factor in a derby, or form goes out the window is the old cliche, isn't it, when there's a derby, and the recent head-to-heads as well. And Milan they're unbeaten in the last 5 head-to-heads across League, Super Cup, Coppa Italia. So I definitely will be looking at Milan on the handicap plus number as well. That's definitely what I'll be looking.
Okay, one other game in Serie A, Lazio versus Lecce. Lazio win to 0 at plus 148. Lecce have the lowest away expected goals and the second worst expected points in Serie A. Just not a very good team going away from home against a good side against Lazio. I just think it sets up well for Lazio to have a rather straightforward win and get a little bit more juice winning to 0 in the process.
Oh, Lazio a good side.
Better than Lecce. Lecce is very
not
very
by
important.
much.
Come on.
I've got the XG table up on Understat. Lecce are second bottom with 10.5 expected points. Lazio are fifth bottom with 11.9. I had this same conversation with someone before the Lazio played last time out. He was like, "Oh yeah, I quite like Lazio's price at Inter." I was like, "Have you looked at their data? Like, they are terrible this season." But yeah, Lecce are a lot worse.
But at home, these are the types of games that Lazio wins. They're 3-1-1 at home on the season, 10 goals scored, 4 conceded. Look, the XG hasn't been great for Lazio. I believe it's around 6 in terms of their expected goals against at home. But Lecce is that bad that you need to. These are the types of games that Lazio regularly wins, and that's what propels them higher up the table. Like I'm fairly confident in this one. So. You're not.
I'm not head to head. I'm not head to head.
Dogs breakfast. They're dogs breakfast. If you want to head to head this, let's go. I'm happy to take you up on it.
I'm not going into battle with Lecce. Not on this one. But I am going to go into battle with Roma. They're playing against Cremonese. Minus 155 for an away win, but I just think we've got to keep backing Roma to win an under 2.5 goals at plus 258 because it's landed in 6 of their 8 wins this season. They've all 6 of 8 have come up with under 2.5 goals. They're very anti-Gasperini in the way in which they play. They are controlled. They keep things tight. They concede very, very little in terms of chances, but they don't create anything compared to what we're used to seeing at Atalanta. Just 12 goals scored in 11 games and 1.45 expected goals scored created, which is really, really unlike them. Cremonese are the worst team in the league according to the data, but 7 of their 11 games have gone under 2.5 goals, which suggests they do keep things very tight. And I think one goal for Rome is going to be enough here. So you pick your poison. You can either win to 0 which is around plus 150, plus 160, or you can back Roma win under 2.5 goals, which basically is 1-0 or 2-0 at plus 258, because the chances of Roma scoring 3, I think, are very, very slim. Watch them score 6 this weekend.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They could do, honestly. That would be the only reason why I'd be nervous about that. Roma being able to win by some margin, because they are I think I can confidently say, a vastly superior side to Cremonese.
Just bit of housekeeping. Anybody who isn't aware, Fiorentina and Atalanta, 2 managerial changes during the break. So Fiorentina play Juventus, Atalanta are at Napoli. So anybody looking at that Napoli price going, ooh, plus 130 for a Napoli win. Anybody believes in the new manager bounce? You might want to swerve clear of that.
Well, and Napoli have so many injuries. It would be typically a game that you'd want to back Napoli. It's less about the new manager bounce. Like, Atalanta needs something, because they've been completely dire with a lot of the same attacking talent. They just haven't been able to put it together. That's why I swerved that game altogether. But Fiorentina, Juventus, that made me stop and pause, because you can get Juventus on a good number, but Juventus haven't been very good at all. And this is what kind of made me pause and just swerve that game as well. So I'll watch
Juventus got a new manager too, haven't they? Spalletti.
Yeah. A couple weeks back. But
yeah. But I'm fascinated. Before we quickly move on, I'm fascinated to see what this new appointment does for Atalanta, because they brought in Rafael Palladino, who was the Fiorentina manager from last year, when they were really, really good to watch, finished 6th in the league, and were scoring quite a lot of goals. So they've literally gone from goal-heavy manager to rubbish defensive manager, then just gone, well, this isn't working, let's just go get another one that scores lots of goals. So the total, keep an eye on the Atalanta totals moving forward, because it's 2.25 for this weekend. And if you're getting anywhere near 2.5 and Atalanta play like Fiorentina did last season, then we're going to be looking at quite a lot of goals.
I think that's where you look ahead to the upcoming games in their this is not the game. I don't think that you're going to get a proper read away from Napoli with the injuries that they have in their team. So I just think there's too many pitfalls for danger there to make it worth your while, at least this weekend. Let's wrap things up with the Bundesliga. By the way, I'm broadcasting in studio Bundesliga fixtures in Canada on One Soccer for the foreseeable future. So I'm excited about that, because one of my favorite leagues to bet on, to be honest with you. I think there's some really good value, some really good games. We start off with Bayern Munich and Freiburg this weekend. And we might have to go with a Wheeler special in this one. Both teams to score no, and over 2.5 in this game as well. There's a number of ways to get on side with Bayern Munich. Good news, Alphonso Davies is back training. The Canadian looks like he's about to make his return. Musiala won't be that far behind as well. Freiburg hasn't scored in their last 3 games away from home. And Bayern Munich at home, 5 wins from 5, 20 scored, just 1 conceded. Both teams to score no, and Bayern Munich to win, and you can get that at plus 105. But I like both teams to score no and over 2.5, because that's what Bayern Munich does at plus 242. It's the Wheeler special, and I'll be backing at that this weekend.
Yep, I had a little look at that as well. But my best bet is a pretty simple one. It's Leverkusen to rock up at Wolfsburg and win at plus 104. Price looks massive. I couldn't quite get my head around the price. Leverkusen have only lost twice under Hjumland, and they came against PSG in the Champions League and Bayern Munich in the league. 6-1-1 in the Bundesliga since he arrived, and the underlying process is bettered only by Bayern Munich in that time, and it's not by much. People might think Bayern Munich have, their numbers are in a different planet, but Leverkusen since Hjumland took charge have been hot on their heels. So then you obviously ask yourself, what price would Bayern be if they were going to Wolfsburg? And it certainly wouldn't be plus money, especially when you factor in Wolfsburg, 14th in the league, 2-2-6, negative underlying process, 4th bottom on expected points, winless at home as well, which is the kicker, 0-2-3 at home, and they're conceding over 2 expected goals against per game. So I couldn't quite understand why Leverkusen are such a big price. They have got a few injuries, but I still think the squad deep enough to be able to put Wolfsburg away.
All right, last game, and this will be making my board. Mainz has been miserable. They host Hoffenheim, who hasn't been. Hoffenheim has been really good as of late. They've scored 3 goals in their last 4 games in the Bundesliga, winning away at St. Pauli, winning at home against Heidenheim, away at Wolfsburg, and winning at home in impressive fashion 3-1 over RB Leipzig. You can back Hoffenheim on the draw no bet, so the 0 handicap at even money. Mainz, third from the bottom in home expected points. They haven't won a game. 0-1-4 at home. They've really struggled. Let's back Hoffenheim. If it ends in a draw, then you get your bet back. So I think that's the only way to approach that one. So I will back Hoffenheim. All right. 5 units to play, and we can slice and dice those bets and wagers however we like. How are you going to spread those 5 units across the board on Pinnacle this weekend, Jake?
So I'm going to do 1.5 units on Leverkusen to beat Wolfsburg at plus 104. That's my favourite bet of the week. Then I'm going to do a unit on Chelsea win to nil at plus 161. A unit on Villarreal win to nil at plus 159. A unit on Espanyol to beat Sevilla at plus 109. That's price has moved. And half a unit on Roma to win and under 2.5 goals against Cremonese at plus 258.
Okay, the only one that we're going to be that's going to be the same play. I'm going to join you rather than Mallorca failing to score. Let's go Villarreal win to nil at plus 159. You convinced me on that, so I'm just going to alter that bet a little bit. That will make my board. Also in La Liga, Barcelona Athletic Club, both teams to score yes, and Barcelona win at plus 199. We're going to have some nice plus money value in my plays this week. And from the Premier League, Bournemouth and West Ham team total, well, for them to fail to score, their team total set at half a goal. Let's go with the under at plus 164. And let's go with the 2 plays from the Bundesliga this weekend. Hoffenheim, the draw no bet at even money at Mainz. And the Wheeler special, Bayern Munich and Freiburg to kick off my Bundesliga coverage. Both teams to score no, and over 2.5 at plus 242. Look, good luck this week. Time to get back on the right side of things in terms of this podcast. And we'll be back Monday for our Champions League podcast, which is being absolutely on flames all season long. Remember, all of the markets that we use are on Pinnacle. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. Please subscribe to this podcast and hit the like button as well. All of that helps out in terms of spreading the word about this podcast and our picks and plays each and every week. Congratulations again to Jake. Let's hope the new baby brings some luck to you. And me too. Why not? By proxy. Jake might be tired carrying 2 kids at once, but we're just getting started. A good run until the Christmas fixtures. Please follow along right here on Pinnacle. This has been episode 64 of Pinnacle FC.